Tapping in.
Are we live?
Recommended and review that new Culture 3 came out.
What you think about the Migos latest effort?
I've always liked Migos, man. I've been with rocking with Migos since Back to the Bando 2. You know, that's 2012 days. You know, that's still way back. That's before Hannah Montana. That's before Versace. That's before a whole host of things. So Drake knows what to do now. I mean, I think Drake has hit that place in his career where whatever he's got the Midas touch. He's got the Midas touch. He's so tapped into the best way to sound like Drake. It's like it makes sense to say Drake.
Drake's
sounds like
done that, though. Drake's always been that. Drake is the more widely applicable version of Benny the Butcher, where you listen to Benny and you go, this guy does not have a whack verse. Drake is very much the same way. Drake doesn't have very many. He might have songs that we don't like, but Drake doesn't really have a whack rap verse like that.
He's got a high shooting percentage.
Super high.
He's got a high shoot percentage. But so does this Culture 3 album, man. There's a lot of songs in here that I like. There's a lot of I like the flow of it. I think it sounds very relevant. I think these dudes still clearly understand what they clearly understand what the sound of now is, and it sounds good. It sounds good to me. I like it. I'll give it a solid 3.5 out of 5 mics.
Whoa, slow down there, Sparky.
Oh, my bad, brother. My bad.
Give us some of your highlights first. What are the tracks that give it? What did you say? 3 out of 5?
The 3.5 out of 3.5. 3.5 or 3.5. 3.5 mics out of 5. Definitely I think it's Avalanche, that Drake, that Modern Day, that Straightening, which came out a while back before. Some solid tracks on there.
Yeah, I liked it. I dug it. I don't typically think of Migos as the album artist, right? I don't typically look for their album to be one where I can enjoy listening to it all the way through multiple times. But I'm kind of just listening for the hits, especially you get to it early, you try and pick out, what might be the lead singles that come from this. And as I listened to it, I was pleasantly surprised, like, oh, snap, like this is easier on ear for a longer time than I expected. For the most part. I definitely like the second half of the album more than I like the first half. Although, the Drake track is dope. There's a conversation to be had about when the most memorable verse on your album is somebody else, though. What does that say?
Drake, though.
But, that's true. But it's interesting, that Migos is able to create so much popular music without that, I'm going to go out and learn every word of this verse, or like, damn, he snapped for like this part. It's like the whole song. It's the back and forth between the guys. It's the art. It's the ad libs. It's all of that. So some of my highlights were Roadrunner. I liked Handle My Business. I like Straightening too. What else? I like Jane. I was kind of going back and forth on Malibu with Polo G. The Polo G album is fire too, by the way. But yeah, man, I dug it. I didn't. So as I was saying, when I first went into it, I was thinking, all right, well, let me see if I can pick out the songs that are going to be out of here. You know what I mean? The ones that I'm going to hear over and over. And with this album, I feel like it was more difficult than Culture 1 or Culture 2 to pick out the ones that are going to be, wasn't the
Drake
same
one for one.
But again, that's Drake. There's 2.5 minutes of Drake on that song before you hear Migo. And when that song gets cut for radio and in the clubs, how much Migo are you going to hear in that song?
That's the Drake effect.
Sure. So that's a Drake track to me, which is great, and I'm surprised Drake track on the Migo album. That's dope. But I'm kind of aside from that. If we can put that one aside, right?
I see what you're saying. Maybe it's like it sounds like a track that they did with Drake, and they were like, "Hey, my nigga, if you're not using that track for the album, slide that through and let's put it on our album."
Yeah, yeah. But that aside, right? I didn't hear Amigos, right? Aside from maybe Straightening, right? Because that song is catchy. That song got some bop to it. But I didn't hear a T-shirt. You know what I mean? I didn't hear any of those songs that just went crazy off of Culture
Bad and
One and Two.
bougie, but and I will say that from Culture One and Culture Two, when you say that they're not, when you say that they're not album artists, because I've always from the Culture series, I've always thought that they performed best when they were doing the work together. I thought when they separated, that's where their work becomes lackluster, right? So Culture One, I found it to ride out pretty nicely. So the Culture Two, I tend to listen to not the whole album, but like I will have like a Culture One or Culture Two type of gym session at times. And so I'm glad that Culture Three can fit in there pretty decent. I think they've got a strong understanding of where to place each other in music and how to up and bring each other up, because even the solo effects, the Quavo Huncho album that came out, that was man. The Takeoff EP that came out, that was that. I don't think Offset even dropped one, but like, that's the music we had in the interim of when they weren't putting out music together. Culture 2 came out 2018,
Yeah.
2019, 2018. Before that, 2017, 2018 is when Culture 2 came out. So that's a long time for them to be absent. But this holds up to the series. I think it's a good addition to the trilogy.
Yeah, I think Migos are at their best when they're when they're together shooting for the big single, when they're shooting for the Get Right With Ya, when they're shooting for the Slippery, when they're shooting for the Motorsport, the Stir Fry. You know what I mean? That's when they're at their best. And yeah, there's a lot of this that I'm sure we'll be hearing all summer. But despite my best intentions, it's a little bit harder for me on this project to hear what that might be. But I rock with it. 3 out of 5 mics.
3 out of 5 mics. 3 out of 5 mics.